So what I can say is we have approved funding for $30 million to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And we call on other countries to also support the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and its critical work. A track record of distributing over 46 million meals distributed to date, all while preventing Hamas looting, is absolutely incredible and should be commended and supported. From day one, we said we are open to creative solutions that securely provide aid to those in Gaza and protects Israel. This support is simply the latest iteration of President Trump's and Secretary Rubio's pursuit of peace in the region.
Do you happen to know what account that money is coming from?
At this point, I do not. I'll take it back and see if we can.
All right, and then for something completely different, and I'll stop after this, just are you aware of any rifts being issued today?
At this time, I have nothing to announce on that front. I'm not aware of anything to that effect.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Tommy. I'll keep with the reorganization. So I'm just wondering, so you guys have the July 1st deadline for state reorg, right? There's an injunction by a federal judge that effectively blocks the department from implementing agency-wide layoffs. And there's SCOTUS potentially weighing on this. So can you tell us, if we don't hear from SCOTUS by July 1st, which is Tuesday, is the State Department still going to go ahead with reduction in force?
Well, I'm not going to speculate and tell the future on hypotheticals, but I can tell you we have no plans here at the department to violate a court order.
Right. So you're saying that if SCOTUS between now and July the 1st does not weigh in on this, then the July 1st deadline will inevitably be postponed?
Well, my first answer stands, and I'm not going to speculate further on that. We have no plans here at the department to violate.
Okay. One more on this. We understand the Foreign Affairs Manual recently has been tweaked to prepare for the foundation of the RIF procedures. This administration has eliminated DEI, and it said it's bringing back merit-based. However, we understand that some of the RIFs will depend on where a foreign service officer, for example, is working at the moment. And there are critics who are saying that that type of criteria basically ignores the years of knowledge, experience, language skills these officers have accumulated. So can you help us understand how this is going to be completely merit-based?
Well, look, what I can say is from the beginning, as the Secretary has said, this reorganization is about making sure we're able to meet the challenges of the 21st century, being able to move at the speed of relevance, as the Secretary says. It's about empowering people instead of a bureaucracy. And I think it's also important to note the process of this from the beginning, a full transparency in this process, communicating with the American people, with Congress, from the very beginning on this. So the point of this reorganization is, again, to move at that speed of relevancy. Again, I'll stress that I don't want to speculate moving forward exactly on what may happen, but I think it's important to remember the track record of how we got here and the ultimate point of this and what the American people, I think, would expect when it comes to meeting those challenges that we face today.
Thank you.
Could I ask a follow-up, though?
Yeah.
If the point is to move at the speed of relevancy, would experience, language, and previous posts, wouldn't that play into consideration?
Well, ultimately, what we're seeing here is wanting to make sure the State Department is able to meet those challenges. That's been this whole process that's been communicated from the beginning to make sure we're effectively meeting those challenges.
So you would take those into consideration?
Well, I think
language proficiency, for instance?
Well, again, I don't want to speculate on certain individuals or get too specific on hypotheticals. But what I can say, as the Secretary has said, is this reorganization is about making sure we're empowering people, not bureaucracy, that we're able to meet those challenges in an effective way. He has spoken to that routinely. He has spoken to that publicly. That's the point here, and I think the American people expect to see that.
If I may, I also wanted to follow up on something that Matt raised on the GHF. There's been a lot of criticism, almost universal criticism, from the Arab world, from the UN and others, about the distribution process for limited sites in southern Gaza, no access in northern Gaza, the deployment of IDF troops, monitoring access in violation of certain international norms and the Geneva Conventions. Can you tell us, as the U.S. is about to begin funding, whether they are expanding the sites to more sites so that they can equal what the World Food Program and others had done previously?
Well, look, what I can say is, again, that 46 million meals distributed to date. That's something that should be applauded. We've talked about here in the past different distribution sites that have been opened, but I think this is an example of seeing that aid that has been distributed and President Trump's commitment, Secretary Rubio implementing that vision here to get aid to the people of Gaza. So we're seeing those 46 million meals, and then we're seeing from there the fact that we're seeing this $30 million approved.
But if I may, if you do the math, there are 2 million people in Gaza. If you figure that families have multiple children and that this process has been going on now for nearly a month, 46 million meals don't amount to feeding the population of Gaza.
Well, it's 46 million meals that have been distributed. That is a positive thing. And we call on other countries to support the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in its work as we have this $30 million that are approved. We're seeing the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in line with President Trump's call to deliver aid in a way where it can't be looted by Hamas. We're seeing those creative solutions. We're seeing the fact that we have 46 million meals distributed. That is good news that we have those meals being distributed, and we call on other countries to join in supporting the GHF's work.
Can I have a follow-up on that, please, Tommy?
Okay.
Every time there's been a distribution in some of those centers, there's been chaotic scenes, and according to the Palestinian sources, shots and people actually dying, heading towards these centers. Now, the Israeli army is saying it's investigating and all that, but it seems to be a pattern from the beginning. So do you have no issue with that whatsoever? What's your take on that?
Well, there are two factors here. First, we refer you to the IDF on their investigations. Second, I would remind you that many of these reports, some of these reports, are based in Hamas propaganda. So we have two factors here when it comes to some of these reports. Ultimately, we want to see aid reach the people of Gaza. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has delivered 46 million meals. We've seen that. We want to see that food being delivered. We see the $30 million approved. So that's what the story is here, moving to implement, get those creative solutions in there to make sure that the aid being distributed is not being looted by Hamas.
And just a follow-up on that, you said $30 million. Has that money actually been given to the foundation already?
It's been
And to whom?
It's been approved. That's as far as I can go on that front. Yes.
Yeah, just to follow on what everyone is asking about, you say you want to see aid get into Gaza. Are you pushing the Israeli government to allow other groups into Gaza to distribute aid? Today, GHF was the only one allowed into the Strip.
What we're pushing for is for other countries to join us in supporting the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's work.
But there
That's what
are
we're
other
pushing
groups
for.
who had been established and had methods that were able to distribute more widely before the restrictions of the Israeli government. So are you asking them to also lift these restrictions?
What we're pushing for is for other countries to support the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's work. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation being able to deliver that aid without it being looted by Hamas. And again, that's about that creative solution that President Trump has said from the beginning. So we call on other countries to support the GHF in this. Yes.
Thank you. Just to follow up, I'm sure that 46 million meals are very good, and the Palestinians appreciate that. But that, as Andrea said, that translates to about 20 meals per person over a period of a month, because it's been a month since they started this thing. So there are only like 4 centers. Are there any plans to expand these centers to make more openings, more entry points and so on for aid and all these things? Because Gaza used to receive 1,000, maybe a couple thousand trucks of food a day. So the situation is very dire.
So I don't have anything to preview in terms of future plans here. I'm not going to get into that here. I can say what we've seen in the past is distribution sites opening. We've seen a ramp up of the meals being delivered. And I think, again, the story here is 46 million meals being delivered to the people of Gaza. That is the story here.
Right. But just if I may,
All right, one more.
If I may follow very, very quickly. Yeah, but also it has been a death trap. I mean, everybody is documenting that Palestinians are being killed at these centers and so on. Many of them are afraid to go. There's a looming disaster. I mean, are you talking to the Israelis? Are you urging them not to be trigger happy and confronting very hungry people who are so desperate that they're probably grabbing stuff and so on?
Well, I answered your question earlier, but I think it's also important to recognize that Hamas bears sole responsibility for this conflict, as has been stated from this podium several times by spokesperson Tammy Bruce. The fact that we're seeing Hamas act in certain ways, and really in barbaric ways, that they've continually done that. So Hamas bears sole responsibility for this conflict. And again, the story here is the 46 million meals that have been able to be distributed to the people in Gaza during this time, and the fact that we're encouraging other countries to also support the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.